The danger God warns about is rarely loud. It does not arrive with explosions, alarms, or dramatic signs. It arrives quietly, slipping into the mind when attention drifts and discipline relaxes. When God says no, 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 this is very dangerous, He is not speaking about dates on a calendar as much as He is speaking about a state of being. December 15, 16, and 17 are critical not because they carry some external curse, but because they expose the human tendency to live without awareness. Most people are not destroyed by sudden disasters, they are undone by slow unconsciousness. They stop watching themselves. They stop listening inwardly. They begin to move on habit instead of intention, and this is where danger begins. Awareness is the light that keeps a human being safe. Without it, even intelligence becomes harmful. Without it, strength turns into recklessness. Without it, faith becomes blind belief rather than lived truth. When awareness fades, the mind starts to run automatically, replaying old patterns, old fears, old desires. The body follows, and actions happen without presence. Words are spoken without responsibility. Decisions are made without clarity. Later, people ask why things went wrong, not realizing the real mistake happened much earlier, at the moment they stopped paying attention. God's warning is not dramatic, but precise. No means stop. No means do not proceed in this state. No means you are about to act without seeing clearly. The repetition of no is urgency, not anger. It is the voice that says pause before you create consequences you cannot reverse. Critical moments are not dangerous because of what might happen outside you, but because of what might happen inside you if you are not alert. When awareness is lost, the ego takes control. Ego always wants speed. It wants immediate answers, quick reactions, instant gratification. Ego hates stillness because stillness exposes truth. Awareness, on the other hand, is patient. It watches before it moves. It observes before it speaks. In critical days, ego becomes louder, pushing you to react, to prove, to defend, to chase, or to escape. Awareness whispers, asking you to breathe, to feel, to wait. The danger is choosing the loud voice over the wise one. Many people believe danger comes from bad people, bad luck, or bad timing. In reality, danger comes from unconscious reactions. A single sentence spoken in anger can break relationships built over years. A single impulsive decision can undo months of effort. A single moment of distraction can lead to accidents, losses, or regrets. These moments are not random. They are born from a lack of presence. When awareness drops, life becomes sharp and unforgiving. Shi Heng Yi teaches that the warrior's first battle is not against the world, but against unconsciousness. A warrior who is not aware is not strong, he is reckless. Strength without awareness is dangerous. Knowledge without awareness is dangerous. Even spirituality without awareness becomes dangerous because it turns into ego wearing sacred language. God's warning is aimed at preventing this fall. Critical days act like mirrors. They show you where your awareness is weak. They reveal where you rush, where you react, where you lose control. If you observe yourself honestly, you will notice that most of your problems begin when you are tired, emotional, distracted, or overconfident. Awareness disappears in these states. God says no because He sees you stepping into action without clarity, driven by impulse instead of intention. Awareness does not mean fear. It does not mean paralysis or hesitation. It means seeing things as they are, not as your emotions color them. It means recognizing when your mind is agitated and choosing not to act from that agitation. It means understanding that not every thought deserves attention and not every emotion deserves expression. In critical moments, awareness is the difference between wisdom and regret. When you live unconsciously, life controls you. Circumstances push you around. Other people's moods affect you. News, opinions, and noise enter your mind and decide your state. Awareness reverses this. With awareness, you choose your response. You become stable even when the world is unstable. This stability is what God wants for you during critical days. The warning is also about subtle dangers. Not all danger looks dramatic. Sometimes danger is overconfidence. Sometimes it is complacency. Sometimes it is spiritual pride, thinking you are above mistakes. These states lower awareness because they create blindness. When you think you already know, you stop observing. When you think you are safe, you stop guarding your mind. God's no is a reminder to stay humble and watchful. Awareness begins in the body. Notice your breath. Notice tension. Notice restlessness. When awareness leaves the body, the mind follows chaos. Critical days require grounding. Walk slower, speak less, listen more. Give your full attention to simple actions. Eat consciously. Sit consciously. Move consciously. These are not small things. They are anchors that keep you present when the mind wants to drift. People often wait for signs in the sky, ignoring the signs within. Irritation, impatience, fatigue, emotional heaviness, these are warnings. When these appear, awareness is already slipping. God's message is not mystical, it is practical. Take these signs seriously. Do not push through blindly. Rest, reflect, and regain presence. Awareness also means seeing your own patterns. You know where you usually fall. You know which emotions pull you off balance. You know which situations make you react. Critical days bring these patterns to the surface. This is not to punish you, but to give you a chance to break them. But you can only break a pattern you see. Awareness makes the invisible visible. Many people think spirituality is about feeling good all the time. In reality, spirituality is about seeing clearly, even when it is uncomfortable. Awareness shows you your weaknesses, your attachments, your fears. This can feel dangerous to the ego, but it is safe for the soul. God's no protects the soul by challenging the ego. When awareness is strong, even difficult days cannot harm you. Pressure does not break you, it sharpens you. Challenges do not confuse you, they clarify you. But when awareness is weak, even easy days become traps. Comfort makes you lazy. Familiarity makes you careless. This is why the warning comes during ordinary time, not during obvious crisis. The loss of awareness is gradual. It begins with distraction. Then comes impatience. Then comes reaction. Finally comes consequence. God interrupts this chain with a firm no. He asks you to return to presence before the chain completes itself. This is mercy, not judgment. To stay aware is to stay aligned. Alignment means your thoughts, words, and actions point in the same direction. When awareness is lost, alignment breaks. You think one thing, say another, and do something else. This inner conflict creates suffering. Awareness brings unity back. You move as one, not as fragments. Critical days are invitations to mastery. Mastery over attention, mastery over impulse, mastery over the mind. This mastery is quiet. It does not announce itself. It simply chooses not to fall when falling is easy. God's warning is a call to this mastery. Awareness is not something you gain once and keep forever. It must be renewed every moment. Every breath is a chance to return. Every pause is a chance to see clearly. During these days, make pauses your weapon. Before speaking, pause. Before deciding, pause. Before reacting, pause. In that pause, awareness returns. When you look back at your life honestly, you will see that your biggest regrets were not caused by lack of talent or opportunity. They were caused by moments when you were not present. You were somewhere else mentally. You were chasing something or running from something. God does not want you to repeat these lessons. The danger is not destiny. It is optional. It only manifests if awareness is absent. With awareness, danger becomes information, not destruction. It teaches instead of punishes. This is why the message comes before the days, not after. Preparation is power. God's no is the voice of a teacher stopping the student before a mistake, not the voice of a judge waiting to punish. It is a call to return to the present moment where clarity lives. The present moment is always safe because it is real. Fear lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. Awareness lives now. When you stay aware, you realize that nothing mystical is required to pass critical days. Only presence, only honesty, only discipline of attention. Watch your mind like a guard at a gate. Not everything needs to enter. Not everything needs a response. The loss of awareness is the true danger because it hands control of your life to unconscious forces. Awareness takes that control back. This is the essence of the warning. Stay awake, stay present, stay humble. In doing so, you walk through critical moments untouched. Not because the world changed, but because you did. The greatest threat to a human being is not the world outside, but the storm that rises within. When God warns that certain moments are critical, He is pointing directly at emotional weakness, because emotions, when uncontrolled, quietly hijack intelligence, discipline, and faith. Emotional weakness does not mean feeling emotions. It means being ruled by them. It means allowing fear, anger, desire, or excitement to make decisions that the conscious mind should be making. This is why these days are dangerous, not because something bad must happen, but because emotions become louder when awareness is tested. Most people do not fail because they lack strength. They fail because, in a moment of emotion, they give that strength away. Anger pushes them to speak before thinking. Fear pushes them to retreat when they should stand firm. Desire pushes them to chase what looks good but costs them later. Pride pushes them to defend an image instead of protecting their future. These emotional movements feel powerful in the moment, but afterward they leave emptiness, regret, and confusion. God's warning exists to stop this cycle before it repeats. Emotions are natural. They arise in every human being. The danger begins when emotions are mistaken for truth. Fear feels urgent, so the mind assumes it must be obeyed. Anger feels strong, so the ego believes it is justified. Excitement feels positive, so caution is ignored. In critical moments, emotions lie convincingly. They do not ask permission, they demand action. This is why emotional mastery is not optional. It is survival. Shi Heng Yi teaches that the warrior does not eliminate emotion, he trains to stand above it. Emotional weakness is giving the steering wheel of your life to a passing feeling. Emotional strength is feeling everything while being controlled by nothing. God's warning is directed at those moments when emotions rise suddenly and intensely, clouding judgment and pushing you toward decisions that do not align with your long-term path. When emotions take over, time collapses. You forget consequences. You forget purpose. You forget who you are becoming. All that exists is the emotion and the urge to act. Later, when calm returns, clarity returns too, but the damage may already be done. Relationships are strained. Opportunities are lost. Trust is broken. God says no because He sees beyond the moment you are trapped in. Emotional weakness often disguises itself as honesty. People say, "This is just how I feel," as if feeling something makes it correct. But feelings change quickly, while consequences last long. Discipline is choosing alignment over expression. Not every emotion needs a voice. Not every feeling needs action. Strength is restraint. Critical days amplify emotional pressure. Fatigue lowers patience. Stress shortens temper. Uncertainty feeds anxiety. When the body is tired and the mind is overloaded, emotions gain more control. This is why these moments require extra vigilance. God's message is not mystical, it is practical. Guard your emotional state as carefully as you would guard your body in danger. Fear is one of the most destructive emotions when left unchecked. It convinces you that you are unsafe even when you are not. It creates imaginary futures and forces you to react to things that do not exist. Fear narrows vision. It blocks wisdom. Decisions made from fear rarely lead to growth. God's warning is a reminder not to obey fear during critical moments. Anger is another powerful threat. It feels like energy, like power, but it burns indiscriminately. Anger damages not only the target, but the one who holds it. Words spoken in anger cannot be taken back. Actions taken in anger often require years to repair. Anger wants immediate release. Wisdom wants long-term stability. God says no to anger-driven action. Desire can be just as dangerous. Desire creates tunnel vision. It highlights pleasure and hides cost. It promises fulfillment but often delivers attachment. In critical moments, desire pushes you to rush, to ignore warning signs, to justify poor choices. Emotional weakness is believing that wanting something is reason enough to pursue it. Discipline asks a deeper question: what is the price? Pride is the quietest but most dangerous emotion. It convinces you that you are right, that you do not need to listen, that you are beyond mistakes. Pride closes the door to awareness. Once that door is closed, learning stops and falling becomes inevitable. God's warning cuts through pride by reminding you that even strong people must remain watchful. Emotional mastery begins with recognition. You cannot control what you do not notice. The moment you feel emotional intensity rising, that is the moment to slow down. Breathe deeper. Ground yourself in the body. Feel your feet. Feel your breath. Emotions lose power when they are observed instead of obeyed. Silence is a powerful tool during emotional storms. Silence prevents unnecessary damage. Silence gives space for clarity to return. Many conflicts escalate not because they are serious, but because silence was not chosen early enough. God's warning invites you to choose silence over reaction. Emotional weakness also appears as the need for validation. The urge to be understood, praised, or acknowledged can drive people to over-explain, overreact, or compromise values. In critical moments, seeking validation weakens resolve. Strength comes from inner approval, not external confirmation. The disciplined person does not suppress emotions, he trains them. He knows that emotions are signals, not commands. They indicate something, but they do not decide everything. This distinction is crucial. When you listen without obeying, emotions become teachers instead of tyrants. God's message is also about timing. Even correct actions taken at the wrong emotional moment become harmful. Waiting is not weakness. Waiting is wisdom. When emotions settle, truth becomes visible. What felt urgent often loses importance. What felt impossible often becomes manageable. Many people confuse emotional intensity with spiritual experience. Loud emotions are not signs of divine direction. Calm clarity is. God does not push through chaos, He speaks through stillness. If a decision feels rushed, pressured, or emotionally charged, it is a sign to pause. Emotional weakness drains energy. It keeps the nervous system in constant reaction. Over time, this creates exhaustion, confusion, and burnout. Emotional mastery conserves energy. It allows you to move through life with steadiness. God wants you strong, not constantly shaken. These critical days are training grounds. They are not meant to break you, but to reveal where your emotional discipline stands. Each moment you choose restraint over reaction, you strengthen yourself. Each moment you choose awareness over impulse, you grow. God's warning is compassionate. It does not shame you for having emotions. It invites you to rise above them. It reminds you that you are more than your feelings, more than passing moods, more than temporary urges. When emotional weakness no longer controls you, life becomes clearer. Decisions align with values. Relationships stabilize. Inner peace increases. This is the protection God is offering through the warning. Not avoidance of difficulty, but mastery within difficulty. When God warns of danger, He does not ask you to panic, run, or hide. He asks you to stand firm in discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is structure. It is the invisible force that keeps life from collapsing when pressure arrives. When discipline is strong, chaos has no entry point. When discipline weakens, even small disturbances become destructive. This is why discipline is divine protection. It is not dramatic, but it is absolute. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it is restriction, limitation, or suffering. In truth, discipline is freedom. It frees you from emotional swings, from impulsive decisions, from the need to constantly repair damage caused by careless actions. God does not protect by removing challenges. He protects by strengthening your inner order. Discipline creates that order. During critical days, the mind seeks shortcuts. It wants ease, comfort, distraction. Discipline says no to unnecessary movement. It says no to indulgence that weakens focus. It says no to habits that drain energy. God's no echoes through discipline. It is the same voice, expressed through structure instead of words. A disciplined life does not depend on motivation. Motivation rises and falls. Discipline remains. When emotions fluctuate, discipline stabilizes. When clarity fades, discipline carries you forward until clarity returns. This is why disciplined people survive storms that destroy others. They do not rely on how they feel. They rely on what they have trained themselves to do. Discipline begins with the body. Wake up when you say you will. Eat with awareness. Move your body with intention. Rest properly. When the body is undisciplined, the mind becomes noisy. When the body is stable, the mind becomes clear. God's protection often begins in simple physical routines that people ignore because they seem ordinary. Speech is another gate of discipline. Words create reality. Undisciplined speech creates conflict, misunderstanding, and regret. Disciplined speech creates peace and trust. During critical moments, silence is often the highest form of discipline. Speaking less prevents damage. Listening more reveals truth. Time discipline is equally important. Scattered time creates scattered results. When you waste time, you weaken your future. Discipline organizes time so that energy flows in one direction. God's warning calls you to respect time, especially during moments when distraction feels tempting. Discipline also means consistency. Not intensity for one day, then collapse. Consistency builds strength quietly. It does not seek attention. It does not announce itself. Over time, it becomes unshakable. Divine protection is not loud, it is steady. Many people pray for safety while living carelessly. They ignore routines, neglect health, indulge impulses, and then ask God to fix the consequences. Discipline is cooperation with divine order. It is saying yes to responsibility. When you live disciplined, you align yourself with protection naturally. Discipline creates boundaries. Boundaries protect energy. Without boundaries, everything drains you. Other people's demands, emotions, and expectations enter freely. Discipline teaches you when to say no. God's no becomes your no. This is not selfishness, it is survival. Financial discipline, emotional discipline, mental discipline, all are connected. Weakness in one area spreads to others. Strength in one area strengthens the whole system. This is why discipline must be holistic. God's protection works best when nothing is neglected. Discipline does not remove struggle, but it makes struggle meaningful. You suffer less because you are not constantly cleaning up unnecessary messes. You conserve strength for what truly matters. This is wisdom in action. A disciplined person moves slower but arrives further. He does not rush into decisions. He does not chase every opportunity. He chooses carefully and commits fully. God's warning is an invitation to this way of moving. Discipline also builds self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, trust grows internally. This inner trust creates confidence that does not depend on external approval. God protects those who respect themselves because self-respect prevents self-destruction. When discipline is absent, excuses multiply. When discipline is present, excuses disappear. Responsibility replaces blame. This shift is powerful. It returns control of life to the individual. Divine protection flows where responsibility is accepted. Critical days expose discipline gaps. Where routines break, stress enters. Where habits weaken, temptation grows. This exposure is not failure, it is feedback. God shows you where to strengthen yourself before greater responsibility arrives. Discipline is also patience. It understands that real growth takes time. It resists shortcuts that promise quick results, but long-term damage. God's protection often looks like delay. What feels like denial is often preservation. Many fear discipline because it demands commitment, but commitment is what creates safety. When you commit to order, order commits to you. Life responds to structure with stability. Discipline does not remove choice, it refines it. You still choose, but you choose consciously. This is true freedom. Freedom without discipline becomes chaos. Freedom with discipline becomes power. God's message is clear. Stay disciplined during critical moments. Not rigid, but rooted. Not harsh, but consistent. This steadiness becomes a shield. Nothing dramatic is needed. Just daily obedience to order. When you look back later, you will realize that discipline saved you quietly. It kept you from one wrong step, one careless word, one impulsive decision. You may never know what you avoided. And that is the beauty of divine protection. It works best when unseen. In the end, discipline is faith in action. It is trusting that order leads to safety, that patience leads to clarity, that consistency leads to strength. God does not protect by chance. He protects through principles. Discipline is one of the highest. When discipline stands, fear dissolves. When discipline holds, chaos retreats. When discipline leads, danger has no power. This is why God says no to disorder and yes to discipline. In this yes, you are protected. If God said congratulations to you on this day, it is not because life was kind to you. It is not because the road was smooth or because luck followed your footsteps. It is because you survived what was meant to break you. Most people never understand this truth. They believe congratulations are given at the finish line, after applause, after success becomes visible. But the deeper law is different. The real congratulations are given in silence, when no one is watching, when the weight is unbearable, and yet you still wake up and move forward. If you are seeing this on the 26th of December, understand this clearly. You passed through fire, and you did not disappear. There were moments this year when your strength was questioned, not by others, but by your own mind. Nights when sleep did not come easily, when thoughts circled endlessly, when your chest felt heavy with questions that had no answers. Days when you did everything right, and still nothing seemed to change. You carried responsibilities that were never announced, battles you never spoke about, pain you learned to hide behind a calm face. In the Shaolin way, this is not weakness. This is training. Pressure reveals structure. Hardship exposes what is real. Many people collapsed where you stood. Some chose distraction. Some chose bitterness. Some chose to quit quietly and call it fate. But you did not. Even when you were tired, you continued. Even when you doubted, you still showed discipline. That is why congratulations are spoken to you now. Survival is not accidental. It is the result of inner alignment, even if you did not realize it at the time. There is a moment in every warrior's path where breaking seems inevitable. The body says stop. The mind says it is pointless. The heart feels empty. This is the exact moment where most lives turn small. But you moved through it, maybe slowly, maybe imperfectly, but you moved. That movement matters more than speed. Endurance is not loud. It does not announce itself. It simply refuses to disappear. In Shaolin teaching, pain is not an enemy. Pain is a messenger. It asks one question only: will you run? Or will you grow? You chose growth even if it was forced upon you. You learned to sit with discomfort. You learned that motivation is unreliable, but discipline is steady. You learned that strength is not aggression, but consistency. These lessons were not gentle. They were carved into you through experience. Think honestly about what you carried this year, the expectations placed on you, the disappointments you swallowed, the moments you felt unseen, unappreciated, misunderstood. Still, you showed restraint. Still, you held your posture. Still, you did not allow chaos to fully control your actions. This is survival at a higher level. Not merely breathing, but maintaining character under pressure. God does not congratulate those who never struggled. There is nothing to acknowledge there. God congratulates those who faced collapse and did not surrender their values. Those who kept their word when it was inconvenient. Those who stayed disciplined when emotion tried to take control. If you are here today, reading this, it means you were watched in moments when you thought no one noticed. Your restraint mattered. Your patience mattered. Your silence mattered. You may not feel victorious. That is normal. Real growth rarely feels like success in the moment. It feels heavy. It feels lonely. It feels slow. But understand this, everything that tried to destroy you failed. Not because it was weak, but because you became stronger. Strength is not something you suddenly gain. It is something that forms quietly while you are surviving. There were times you wanted clarity and received confusion instead. Times you wanted relief and received another test. This was not cruelty. This was preparation. A shallow person breaks under deep responsibility. A disciplined person is forged to carry it. You are being shaped for something that requires stability, not impulse. That is why your path demanded endurance. If God said congratulations to you today, it is an acknowledgement of what you did not post, did not announce, did not dramatize. The battles in your mind, the restraint in your reactions, the moments you chose silence over conflict, patience over ego, effort over excuses. These choices accumulate. They build an inner foundation that cannot be shaken easily. Understand this deeply. Survival is not passive. It is an active daily decision. You decided to get up. You decided to continue. You decided not to become bitter, even when bitterness felt justified. That decision repeated over time transformed you. You may not recognize yourself yet, but you are no longer who you were at the beginning of this year. There is a reason this message meets you now, near the end of the year. Endings reveal truth. When the noise fades, what remains is character, and your character endured. You did not escape the storm. You walked through it. You learned where you are strong and where you must still improve. That awareness itself is power. Do not underestimate what survival has given you. You now know your limits are further than you thought. You know you can function even when conditions are not ideal. You know that comfort is not required for progress. These realizations separate those who last from those who collapse when life becomes demanding. This congratulations is not emotional comfort. It is recognition. Recognition that you are still standing with your integrity intact. Recognition that you did not let hardship turn you into something smaller. Recognition that you are capable of enduring more than you imagined, which means you are capable of carrying more responsibility, more purpose, more meaning. Carry this truth quietly. Do not seek validation from others. You do not need applause for survival. You need awareness. Awareness that you are stronger now. Awareness that the hardest parts did not defeat you. Awareness that what comes next will require this exact strength you have built. If you survived what was meant to break you, then nothing ahead is random. You were not preserved by accident. You were refined. Congratulations are not the end of the path. They are confirmation that you are ready to walk the next part with greater discipline, clarity, and inner stability. Stand still for a moment and acknowledge yourself, not with pride, but with respect. Respect for the one who did not quit when quitting felt logical. Respect for the one who kept moving when hope felt distant. That person is you. Congratulations. You endured. If God said congratulations to you on 26th of December, it does not mean everything suddenly changes without your participation. It means a door has opened, quietly, and it is waiting to see who you are now. A shift is always subtle. Loud transformations are usually illusions. Real change happens internally first, in awareness, posture, and decision-making. This day is not special because of numbers on a calendar. It is special because you are conscious enough to notice where you stand. Most people miss their turning points because they are distracted. They are busy replaying the past or fantasizing about the future. They wait for signs that scream instead of signs that whisper. In Shaolin wisdom, awareness is the highest discipline. When awareness sharpens, life responds. When awareness dulls, opportunities pass unseen. If you are seeing this message today, it is not the shift itself, it is the signal that a shift is available. A turning point does not ask for emotion, it asks for responsibility. It asks whether you will continue repeating old patterns or whether you are ready to move with intention. Many people pray for change, but refuse to change their habits. They ask for direction, but ignore discipline. They want a new chapter without closing the previous one. That is not how transformation works. This moment marks a subtle line. On one side is unconscious repetition. On the other is deliberate movement. You may not feel different today. That is expected. Awareness comes before feeling. Feeling comes before results. Results come last. If you wait to feel ready, you will miss the moment. Readiness is proven through action, not emotion. Shi Heng Yi teaches that life gives you what you can carry, not what you want. If this day has arrived quietly, it means you are being trusted with more responsibility for your own direction. No one will push you. No one will force you. The shift only happens if you choose to step into it consciously. Otherwise, this day will pass like any other. Be honest with yourself. Look at how you move through your days, your routines, your reactions, your excuses. Awareness demands truth, not comfort. If you continue the same behaviors, you will continue the same outcomes. The universe does not negotiate with inconsistency. Discipline is the language it understands. This is why the shift is subtle. It tests whether you are awake enough to recognize it without drama. A warrior does not need chaos to act. A disciplined person moves before things fall apart. This is not a rescue. This is an invitation. Many people think blessings arrive as gifts. In reality, they arrive as responsibility disguised as opportunity. You are being asked to take your life more seriously now, to waste less energy, to focus your attention, to guard your time, to choose depth over noise. This is the work that follows awareness. If you ignore this, nothing punishes you. Life simply continues as it was. That is the consequence. Stagnation is quiet. It feels familiar, but it slowly drains potential. Awareness interrupts that process, but only briefly. It must be acted upon or it fades. You may feel a strange restlessness today, a sense that something is ending, but nothing has fully begun. That space is important. Do not fill it with distraction. Do not rush to label it. Stillness reveals direction when you allow it. This is why Shaolin training emphasizes silence. Silence sharpens perception. This shift is not external validation. No one may notice your change at first. That is good. Internal alignment always precedes visible progress. If others see it too early, ego interferes. This phase requires humility and patience. Be careful what you consume today: words, media, conversations. Awareness is fragile when it first emerges. Protect it. Choose inputs that strengthen clarity, not confusion. Choose actions that reinforce discipline, not impulse. Small decisions today carry disproportionate weight. You do not need to do something dramatic. You need to do something consistent. One disciplined choice repeated daily is more powerful than a burst of motivation. This is how shifts become permanent. Understand this clearly. If you see this message today, it means you are capable of noticing your own patterns. That alone places you ahead of most people. Awareness is the gate. Discipline is the path. Results are a byproduct. Do not look for signs tomorrow if you ignore responsibility today. The universe speaks once clearly, then waits. This moment is not meant to pressure you, but to clarify you. Clarity reduces suffering because it removes indecision. Stand upright. Breathe slowly. Observe your thoughts without becoming them. This is where the shift begins. Not in excitement, but in presence. Not in hope, but in action. If you stay aware, this day becomes a marker, a quiet reference point you will look back on and recognize as the moment you stopped drifting and started moving deliberately. If you do not, it becomes just another date. God's congratulations are not comfort. They are confirmation that you are ready to take responsibility for your direction. The shift is available. Whether it becomes real depends entirely on your awareness after this moment. Stay awake. If God said congratulations to you on the 26th of December, it is not because you defeated others, proved something to the world, or stood above anyone. It is because you learned, even imperfectly. The hardest battle of all, the battle with yourself. In the Shaolin path, this is the only victory that truly matters. Everything else is temporary. Titles fade, praise disappears, circumstances change, but self-mastery remains. Most people spend their lives trying to control the outside world. They try to control people, outcomes, opinions, and situations. When that control fails, they become frustrated, angry, or hopeless. Very few people turn inward and ask the difficult question: can I control my reactions, my impulses, my habits, my thoughts? You were forced into that question this year. Not because you wanted growth, but because life removed comfort and left you no choice. Self-mastery does not begin with confidence. It begins with humility, with the realization that your mind is often your greatest obstacle, that emotions can mislead you, that unchecked desire creates suffering. These realizations are uncomfortable. They bruise the ego, but they open the door to discipline. There were moments you wanted to react instantly, to speak, to argue, to defend, to escape. And yet something in you paused. Maybe not every time, maybe not perfectly, but more than before. That pause is mastery in its earliest form. The space between impulse and action is where power lives. Most people never develop that space. You began to. Shi Heng Yi teaches that the one who cannot control himself will always be controlled by circumstances. You learned this through experience. You saw how emotional reactions created chaos and how restraint created stability. You learned that silence is not weakness, that patience is not submission, that discipline is not punishment. These lessons were not learned from books. They were carved into you by necessity. There were days when motivation disappeared completely, when you did not feel inspired, spiritual, or strong. Yet you still showed up. You still completed what needed to be done. You still carried responsibility. This is the difference between those who master themselves and those who are mastered by their moods. Mood is temporary. Discipline remains. God congratulates those who develop inner order. Because when the inner world is chaotic, the outer world becomes destructive. But when the inner world is disciplined, even chaos outside cannot easily disturb you. You may still feel stress, fear, or doubt, but they no longer dictate your actions. This is a silent form of power. You learned to observe your thoughts instead of believing every one of them. You learned that not every feeling requires expression. You learned that restraint builds respect, first self-respect, then respect from others. These are not small victories. They are foundational. Self-mastery is not about suppression. It is about direction. You did not erase emotion. You learned to guide it. You did not eliminate desire. You learned to discipline it. You did not kill ambition. You refined it. This refinement is what separates destructive intensity from focused strength. Many people avoid this path because it is lonely. No one claps for inner victories. No one sees the battles you win in silence. No one celebrates the moment you choose discipline over comfort. But these are the moments that shape destiny. This is why congratulations come quietly. They are not meant for display. Understand this. Every time you resisted a harmful habit, you strengthened your will. Every time you controlled your tongue, you strengthened your character. Every time you acted despite discomfort, you strengthened your discipline. These repetitions compound. Over time, they create a person who is difficult to shake and impossible to manipulate. You may still feel unfinished. That is good. Mastery is a lifelong practice. The danger is not being incomplete. The danger is being unaware. You are aware now. You recognize your patterns. You see where you lose control and where you hold it. Awareness combined with discipline is unstoppable. God's congratulations are not approval of perfection. They are recognition of direction. You are moving towards self-mastery instead of away from it. That direction matters more than speed. From this point forward, you will be tested again. Mastery always attracts new challenges, but you are no longer untrained. You have tools now. Breath before reaction, silence before speech, action before excuse. These tools will serve you in every area of life. Do not announce your discipline. Live it. Do not seek validation for your restraint. Respect yourself for it. The one who masters himself does not need to dominate others. His presence speaks quietly. If you see this message today, remember, God congratulates those who rule their inner world, because whoever controls himself cannot be easily controlled by fear, pressure, or circumstance. This is your real victory. If God said congratulations to you on the 26th of December, understand this clearly: it is not a signal to rest, and it is not a declaration that the journey is complete. It is confirmation. Confirmation that you are no longer who you were when the year began. Confirmation that the preparation phase has done its work. Confirmation that what comes next will require a stronger, more disciplined version of you, and that version now exists. Many people misunderstand congratulations. They hear it as closure. In truth, it is alignment. It means you are positioned correctly, not finished. In the Shaolin path, progress is never celebrated with comfort. It is acknowledged with responsibility. Each level reached demands greater awareness, deeper discipline, and sharper restraint. This moment is not about looking back with regret or forward with fantasy. It is about standing firmly where you are, grounded and clear. The noise of the year is fading. The lessons remain. What you carry into the next phase will determine everything. If you carry distraction, the path will blur. If you carry discipline, the path will reveal itself step by step. You are not late. Many people measure life by artificial timelines and feel behind. That thinking creates suffering. Growth does not follow a schedule. It follows readiness. You could not have arrived here earlier without becoming weaker. Delay was not denial. It was conditioning. If God confirms you now, it means you are capable of handling more truth about yourself. More responsibility for your choices. Less dependence on excuses, motivation, or external reassurance. This is the shift from hoping life improves to making yourself stronger regardless of conditions. There will still be difficulty. Confirmation does not remove resistance, it increases it. Higher capacity attracts heavier weight. But now you are equipped. Your reactions are slower. Your focus is sharper. Your standards are higher. You will no longer tolerate what you once accepted. This alone will change your future. Do not expect instant reward. Expect refinement. Expect situations that test whether your discipline is real or temporary. Expect moments where the old habits try to return. This is not failure. This is integration. Every lesson must be lived before it becomes permanent. The mistake many people make at this stage is complacency. They feel acknowledged and relax their guard. But discipline, once loosened, fades quickly. You must now protect what you have built. Guard your mornings. Guard your energy. Guard your attention. These are the foundations of the next chapter. Carry yourself differently now, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. Speak less. Observe more. Choose actions that align with who you are becoming, not who you were. This is how confirmation becomes reality. You will notice distance forming between you and certain people, habits, and environments. Do not fight it. Alignment naturally creates separation. This is not loss, it is clarity. What cannot follow you forward will fall away. In Shaolin teaching, the warrior does not rush into battle. He stands prepared, calm, centered, ready. That is your state now, not excited, not afraid. Ready? God's congratulations are not emotional reassurance. They are a signal that your foundation is strong enough to build upon. What you build next is your responsibility. Strength without direction is wasted. Direction without discipline collapses. You must carry both. There will be moments ahead when you doubt whether this confirmation was real. Return to your discipline in those moments. Action dissolves doubt. Consistency silences fear. If you treat this moment with respect, you will look back and recognize it as the quiet beginning of a decisive chapter. Not because life became easy, but because you became solid. Congratulations were spoken not to end your struggle, but to acknowledge your readiness. Now continue, with honor, restraint, and purpose. Be still. Before you move forward, before you decide anything, before you promise yourself a new beginning, be still. The last 2 days of December are not loud. They do not announce themselves with urgency or demand. They arrive quietly, almost unnoticed, like a pause between two breaths. And yet, this pause holds more power than the rush that follows it. God makes these days critical because transition does not begin with action. It begins with stillness. Stillness is uncomfortable for most people. When the noise stops, the mind begins to speak. When distractions fade, truth steps forward. This is why many avoid silence. They fear what they might hear. But God does not speak in chaos. God speaks in clarity. And clarity only comes when movement slows. In these final days, life asks you to stop running, not physically but inwardly. Running from responsibility. Running from unfinished lessons. Running from the quiet voice that has been guiding you all year, which you heard but did not obey. Now there is no place left to run. The year is ending. Time itself is slowing its steps. And in this slowing, you are invited to see. Stillness is not emptiness. It is awareness without distortion. When you become still, you notice the weight you have been carrying unnecessarily. You notice how much energy you have wasted reacting instead of responding. You notice patterns, habits that repeated themselves because you never paused long enough to interrupt them. God allows the year to end gently so that you can finally observe your life without judgment. In stillness, excuses lose their strength. You can no longer say you did not have time. You can no longer say you were unaware. Because now you see. You see how your mornings shaped your days. You see how your discipline, or lack of it, created your results. You see how small compromises accumulated into large consequences. This is not to make you feel guilty. Guilt is noise. Awareness is silent. The last 2 days are critical because they are a doorway, and doorways require presence. You cannot cross them unconsciously. If you rush through, you carry the same identity forward. But if you pause, if you stand fully present at the threshold, something within you shifts. You begin to understand that the next year does not need more effort. It needs more alignment. Stillness teaches you what effort never could. When you stop, you begin to feel the difference between motion and direction. You realize that much of what you called progress was merely movement, busy, exhausting, circular. God slows the days so you can feel this distinction deeply, not intellectually, because only what is felt transforms you. In these days, you may feel restless. The mind will try to pull you into planning, worrying, regretting, fantasizing. Do not follow it. Let the thoughts pass like clouds. Stillness is not about controlling the mind. It is about not obeying every thought it produces. This is discipline at its highest level. God makes these days critical because stillness reveals what must end before anything new can begin. Seeds do not grow in chaos. They grow in dark, silent soil. These 2 days are your soil. If you fill them with noise, you plant nothing. Sit with yourself, not to analyze, but to observe. Notice where your body tightens when you think about certain memories. Notice which goals feel heavy and which feel light. This is not random. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Stillness allows these signals to surface. You may realize that some goals you chased were never yours. You may see that some struggles continued only because they gave you identity. You may recognize that you stayed busy to avoid asking deeper questions. These realizations do not come when you are distracted. They come when you are quiet. God does not demand that you fix everything in these 2 days. That is not their purpose. Their purpose is to see. Seeing is enough. Once you see clearly, change becomes inevitable. What you see honestly cannot be unseen. Stillness also reveals gratitude. Not the loud kind that celebrates achievements, but the quiet kind that acknowledges survival. You made it through the year, through moments when you doubted yourself, through nights when you felt lost, through days when you continued even without motivation. This endurance is not accidental. Stillness allows you to honor it without ego. When you become still, time feels different. 2 days can feel like a lifetime. This is because presence expands perception. God slows time not by changing the clock, but by changing your attention. When you are present, even a moment contains depth. In these final days, do not seek answers. Let answers come to you. The mind searches, stillness receives. The year has already taught you what you need to know. But lessons only integrate when the student stops talking. This is why these days are critical. They are not about doing more. They are about doing less consciously. Less reaction, less consumption, less noise, less self-deception. In this reduction, essence appears. Stillness strips life down to what is real. Titles fade. Comparisons dissolve. Expectations loosen their grip. What remains is you, without performance, without audience, without urgency. This is the self that must cross into the new year. Not the persona you display, but the awareness you embody. God does not rush transitions. Humans do. And in rushing, they repeat cycles. Stillness breaks cycles. Because when you stop, you step out of momentum. And momentum is what carries old habits forward unconsciously. In these 2 days, momentum weakens. This is your opportunity. Be still when the urge to distract yourself arises. That urge is the sign you are close to something important. The mind resists stillness because stillness removes its authority. In silence, the deeper intelligence takes over, the one that knows without reasoning. Trust that intelligence. You do not need to force reflection. Simply allow space. Sit, walk slowly, breathe deeply. Let the year speak. It will show you moments you forgot and lessons you postponed. Do not cling to them. Witness them. Stillness is not passive. It is an active choice to remain present with reality as it is. This choice requires strength. Most people cannot sit with themselves without escaping. If you can, even briefly, you have already changed. The last 2 days of December are critical because they offer a rare alignment between time and awareness. The world pauses. Energy resets. Cycles close. If you are present, you align with this natural rhythm. If you are distracted, you miss it, and the next year feels heavier than it needs to be. Stillness is how you bow to the past without carrying it. It is how you honor effort without attaching to outcome. It is how you prepare the inner ground for what is to come. Do not underestimate this pause. Great shifts happen quietly. Mountains move slowly. Seeds break open in silence. God works the same way. Be still, not to escape life, but to meet it honestly. Be still, not to stop forever, but to restart correctly. Be still, because the doorway is narrow, and only awareness fits through it. These days are critical. Not because something dramatic will happen outside, but because something subtle is meant to awaken within. And if you allow it, the next year will not need to convince you of anything. You will already know. Sit with honesty now. Not to accuse yourself, not to defend yourself, but to see yourself clearly. The second reason God makes the last 2 days of December critical is because they are a mirror. A mirror does not judge. It does not praise. It only reflects. And most people spend an entire year avoiding reflection because they are afraid of what they might see. But avoidance does not erase truth. It only delays it. These days are not about punishment. God is not counting your failures with anger. God is asking for awareness. Awareness is the highest form of responsibility. Without it, no change is real. Judgment without condemnation means looking at your life without emotion attached. No pride for what went right. No shame for what went wrong. Emotion distorts perception, and perception determines direction. God wants you to see straight before you move forward. In these final days, excuses grow quiet. Time runs out. There is no later left inside the year. This is why clarity becomes unavoidable. You cannot negotiate with endings. They arrive whether you are ready or not. The only choice left is honesty. Look back at the year slowly. Not at events first, but at patterns. Where did you repeat the same mistake even after you recognized it? Where did you choose comfort over discipline? Where did you lower your standards to avoid discomfort? These questions are not meant to hurt you. They are meant to free you. Condemnation says, "You are wrong." Judgment without condemnation says, "This is what happened." One destroys, the other teaches. Most people confuse the two and therefore avoid both. They either drown in guilt or hide in distraction. God offers a third path here: observation without attachment. When you observe without attacking yourself, truth becomes light, not weight. These 2 days are critical because whatever you refuse to judge honestly will repeat itself automatically. Life repeats lessons until awareness is achieved. Not because God is cruel, but because growth requires recognition. Pain continues until it is understood. Sit with the moments you avoided thinking about all year, the conversations you postponed, the habits you justified, the responsibilities you shifted onto others. Do not dramatize them. Simply name them. Naming is power. You will notice something important when you do this calmly. Many of your struggles were not caused by lack of ability, but by lack of consistency. Many of your delays were not due to external obstacles, but internal resistance. This realization does not blame you, it empowers you. Because what is internal can be changed. God is not interested in perfection. God is interested in awareness. Perfection creates fear. Awareness creates progress. As the year closes, you may feel regret trying to surface. Let it pass. Regret focuses on what cannot be changed. Awareness focuses on what must not be repeated. One looks backward, the other prepares forward. Judge your year like a master reviewing training, not like a criminal facing trial. A master asks, what worked? What didn't? Why? No emotion, only precision. Where did you grow stronger this year without noticing? Where did you survive something you once thought would break you? These count too. Judgment without condemnation includes recognizing resilience, not just mistakes. If you only see your failures, you are still being dishonest. God makes these days critical because balance must be restored before a new cycle begins. If you inflate yourself with pride, you enter the new year blind. If you crush yourself with guilt, you enter it weak. Both are forms of imbalance. Stand in the middle. See yourself as you are, capable, flawed, learning. Notice how often you acted against your own values. Not to shame yourself, but to understand the cost. Every time you betray your inner standard, something inside you weakens. Integrity is built quietly and destroyed quietly. Awareness rebuilds it. You may realize that you blamed circumstances when the real issue was discipline. Or you blamed others when the real issue was boundaries. Or you blamed fate when the real issue was fear. These realizations sting briefly, but they liberate permanently. God allows the year to end so you cannot escape this mirror. These 2 days are the final chance to look honestly without consequences yet. Because once the new year begins, patterns solidify quickly. Judgment without condemnation also means forgiving yourself correctly, not with excuses, but with understanding. Forgiveness does not say, "It was okay." Forgiveness says, "I see why it happened, and I will not repeat it." This is maturity. Look at how you handled pressure. Pressure reveals structure. Did you collapse? Did you react? Did you escape? Or did you remain grounded? Your response to pressure shows where your work still lies. Look at your use of time. Time is the most honest teacher. Where time went shows what you truly valued, not what you claimed to value. This truth is uncomfortable, but priceless. God makes these days critical because truth spoken late is still better than truth never spoken. Even now, awareness can redirect an entire year ahead. Do not rush this process. Let insights come slowly. The deeper the realization, the quieter it arrives. Loud realizations fade quickly. Silent ones reshape behavior. You are not meant to feel heavy after this reflection. If you do, you are condemning yourself. Return to neutrality. Observation is calm. If your mind becomes aggressive, step back into stillness. Remember, God already knows everything you are seeing. This judgment is not for God. It is for you. And when you finish, when you have seen clearly without attacking yourself, you will notice something subtle but powerful: relief. Not because you fixed everything, but because you stopped lying to yourself. This relief is critical. It clears mental space. It dissolves internal conflict. It prepares you to move forward without dragging unresolved weight. Most people enter the new year with noise, unresolved guilt, inflated hope, vague promises. You are being invited to enter with clarity. Judgment without condemnation sharpens intention. It removes fantasy and replaces it with precision. You no longer say, "I will try." You say, "This must change." And when something becomes non-negotiable, behavior follows naturally. These last 2 days are not about becoming someone new. They are about seeing who you already are honestly. From this seeing, real change begins, not forced, not emotional, but inevitable. Stand in truth, not harshly, not softly, but clearly. Because clarity is the greatest gift you can carry into the next year. Feel the weight you are carrying. Not the obvious weight, responsibilities, deadlines, expectations, but the silent weight that has followed you month after month without being questioned. The emotional residue, the outdated beliefs, the versions of yourself that no longer fit, yet remain because releasing them feels unfamiliar. God makes the last 2 days of December critical, because not everything is meant to cross the threshold with you. Transition requires reduction. Growth requires subtraction. Nature never carries dead branches into a new season. They fall, not out of punishment, but out of necessity. Most people think holding on is strength. It is not. Holding on is often fear disguised as loyalty to habits, to people, to identities that once protected you, but now restrict you. These final days expose this truth quietly. No drama, no force, just clarity. Release is not an act of violence. It is an act of alignment. In these days, you may feel resistance when certain thoughts arise. Thoughts about letting go of a relationship, a routine, a dream you chased out of pride rather than purpose. Notice this resistance. Resistance reveals attachment, and attachment reveals where energy is trapped. God does not demand that you abandon everything. Only what cannot evolve with you. Some things grow, some things expire. Wisdom is knowing the difference. You cannot carry the same identity into a higher level of responsibility. The version of you that survived chaos may not be the version meant to build order. The version that fought to be seen may not be the version meant to lead quietly. If you insist on dragging old armor into a peaceful land, you will never rest. These last 2 days are critical because identity solidifies at the beginning of cycles. What you release now loses its power to define you later. What you cling to now becomes the lesson you will repeat. Let go without bitterness. Bitterness keeps the past alive. Release with gratitude. Even pain served a purpose. Even mistakes taught you something. Honor them, and then put them down. You may notice grief arising. This is natural. Release always carries grief, because you are saying goodbye to a familiar self. Do not suppress it. Do not dramatize it. Let it pass through you like a final wave. What remains afterward is lightness. God designed endings to be quiet, so that attachment loosens gently. When people ignore these gentle endings, life creates harsher ones. These 2 days are mercy. Release also means letting go of narratives. The story you tell yourself about why things didn't work. The story about being unlucky, misunderstood, delayed, or different. Stories protect the ego, but they imprison growth. The truth is simpler and more empowering. Some choices were misaligned, and now you know better. Let go of resentment. Resentment is memory with emotion attached. It drains present energy to feed the past. Forgiveness is not approval. Forgiveness is withdrawal of attention. You do not need closure from others. Awareness is closure. God makes these days critical because attention is creative energy. Where you place it now shapes what grows next. If your attention remains stuck in old wounds, those wounds become the blueprint of the future. Release expectations you carried for others. Expectations unspoken become silent burdens. People do not fail you, they reveal themselves. Accept what is not what you hoped for. Acceptance is not surrender, it is accurate perception. Also release the fantasy version of yourself, the one who would have done everything perfectly if circumstances were different. That version does not exist. What exists is the one who acted with the awareness available at the time. Respect that version. Then update yourself. God is not interested in nostalgia. Nostalgia blurs judgment. Release the past without romanticizing it. Even good times must be let go of to make space for what is next. Clinging to past success can limit future growth just as much as clinging to past failure. You may feel fear as you release. Fear of emptiness. Fear of losing direction. Fear of becoming undefined. This fear is temporary. What replaces it is clarity. When you let go of what is false, what remains is essential. These last 2 days are not asking you to destroy yourself. They are asking you to shed. Like a snake leaving behind a skin that no longer fits. The skin protected you once. Now it suffocates you. Release also applies to self-talk. The inner language you use becomes the environment you live in. If you speak to yourself with contempt, you carry an internal enemy into the new year. Let go of harshness. Discipline does not require cruelty. Precision does not require abuse. God does not carry your past mistakes into the future. You do through memory and attachment. Release breaks this cycle. You may wonder how to release practically. You release by deciding, not emotionally, decisively. You decide that certain behaviors are no longer available to you. Certain standards are no longer negotiable. Certain people no longer have access to your inner world. No announcement is needed. No explanation is required. Quiet decisions are the most powerful. As the year closes, feel the difference between holding and releasing in your body. Holding is tight. Releasing is spacious. One exhausts you, the other restores you. God makes these days critical because space must exist before something new can enter. If your hands are full, you cannot receive. If your mind is crowded, insight cannot land. Release is not forgetting. It is remembering without attachment. It is keeping the lesson and discarding the weight. When you let go correctly, you do not become empty. You become available. Available for discipline. Available for clarity. Available for a version of yourself that does not need to prove anything. Do not carry old battles into a new season. Wars end so builders can work. These final days are a gate. You decide what passes through. And when you step forward lighter, without resentment, without outdated identities, without emotional clutter, you will notice something quietly powerful. The future feels less intimidating. Not because it became easier, but because you stopped carrying what was never meant to continue. Release now, so you do not repeat later.